I'm going to do a gameplay analysis of Year Long Alarm. This is a very popular mod by Chuck Wilson. And there's a lot of things in this mod that you can use and sort of ideas that you can incorporate into your Half-Life 2 maps and mods. And it's going to be fairly similar to the last level analysis I did on Precursor. There's going to be a lot of the same stuff, but there's a few changes. So, first off, we'll plug that in. Obviously, it's a plug to power the elevator. It's very clear what it's doing. The reason why I'm doing this mod, as opposed to any other mod that may have been suggested, is that I'm familiar with this mod. It's quick to do, and obviously around this time of the year, things get busy, so... Straight away, this section kind of sets up the scene on what's going on, so you can see how many you can take out. You don't actually need to shoot them at all. It's just something to do, so... What this mod does very well is makes good use of space. That's kind of one of its strengths. It's the fact it takes an area and it gets as much gameplay out of the area as possible. So you can look down there, you can see you're going to be down there. The places don't have any meaning or context, but you still have a bit of foreshadowing. Okay, so we'll push on. We don't want to linger too long on this. It should take about no more than 40 minutes to get through this. Because this mod is actually... It seems long, but I usually get through it quite quickly. So as you see here, we can clearly see that these stairs have fallen down. And this thing is put in the way, not just as a prop to make the area look good, but to actually warn the player. So it actually serves more than one purpose. So this jumping section is more complicated than you think, or it's got a lot more to it, because I could jump and make that easily, but then there's a barnacle there. So if I was, you know, not really thinking about it, I'd hit that barnacle. I can do that, get around it, but it presents kind of more for the player to think about, instead of just, right, I need to jump over this thing. They've got to say, I need to jump over this thing and watch out for the barnacle. So that's an extra thought in their head. So we see here there's this guy banging on the window, and it's very clear that we need to get round there. Now we've seen one of these before up there. So it's being consistent. That's a good thing that this mod does, is it's consistent with its mechanics. It's plugging a plug, basically, to power the elevator, and then go around and push the button. So we're going to make it round there. First signpost that this is the way to go is this vent, you know, grate thing. And it was out in the open. It wasn't like it was hidden away, because, you know, maybe a player wouldn't check this area. I mean, you can kind of see it, but it's not obvious, so maybe they'd go back here, go check goodness knows where, try and jump down. But the fact that that was there gave an indicator, so it was very clear. People often shy away from making their puzzles too simple, because they're scared that it may be patronising. And there are patronising things, but that's one of these subtle things that isn't in your face. Like, also another patronising thing is putting writing on screen, which is something people do. Like, for instance, in that scenario, I'll use it, it's a stupid example, but if you said, like, find a vent to go through to pull the lever, that would be patronising. But the fact that it was simply just a vent grate placed over there where you could see it was fine. I think this is locked for the moment, yeah. We'll eventually open that back up, but we got a bit of combat, zombie combat, which is good to begin with. And the good thing is, because we've got the gravity gun, you can actually fire things at them. So I'll find a better example. But a lot of mods don't include the gravity gun, which seems very counterintuitive for a Half-Life 2 mod, because basically the physics is kind of the main strength of Half-Life 2 in many people's eyes, especially in the terms of gameplay. You know, these physics things like what I'm doing now are really important, and I'm not saying the only puzzles should be physics puzzles. You know, don't misinterpret that, but it's very important, and you can do a lot with the gravity gun, and there's a lot of puzzles and whatnot. So I would recommend including it. Incidentally, that zombie was placed in this elevator kind of as a... just to throw a bit of a spanner in the works, because, you know, you don't expect a zombie to be in there. He comes out, you're kind of like, oh gee, what's up here? Just as something different. We don't know how he managed to get there. Actually, I don't think we can shoot through there properly. So there's just a bit of, you know, goodies to find. We can't see the G-Man. It's a bit of just, you know, a visual item included in the mod. Visual stuff's good, especially maybe if it wasn't the G-Man, for instance. If it was like a rebel running away and like a head crab jumping on him and killing him or something. I don't know what you could actually do with it. But just something for the player to look at is a really good inclusion. Now, here we see boxes blocking the corridor. We could jump over them, like so. I'll just take out that guy. Yeah, basically, again, it's just to force interaction. Instead of just them not being there, the player just running right on through, these boxes are there. You get to this zone, and it's blocked off, so it actually possibly encourages the player to look this way as well. So you can do a lot just by kind of barricading up corridors, and we do it with wooden boards as well, because we saw that in Precursor, which was the last analysis I did. Okay, so we're forced to crouch here. Again, just to make sure it's not a long corridor that you're just running down and that's it. And we have barnacles as well, which are not really a threat, but if you throw other things like zombies with barrels and then they become a bit of a nuisance. And we see this thing again. This thing was, I guess, quite a good idea that the author of this mod used it twice. And it's a simple mechanic. Really easy to do. You can take almost every single zombie out of it. I didn't do a good job. But there we go. And also a bit of exploration involved here. You can get a gun, you can get a battery. Nothing much, but it rewards you for going that extra mile, but it's not a mile. Right. Again, even including that area, you know, even then, just now, after, you know, playing this mod a good couple of times before, I'm still, like, looking in these areas, like, trying to find items that can aid me, like these things. So, along here we have more goodies. And that zombie is kind of not programmed, but set to walk into that barnacle, so you don't really need to fight him. It's, again, I think more of a visual thing. Because I'll mention it later on, but having factions, and when I say factions, I'm talking about like Combine, zombies, antlions, they're like the main enemy factions. They're there are, then having factions interact with each other just makes the world feel more alive and more interesting. So having Combine fighting antlions, or zombies fighting, or yeah, fighting Combine, or whatever they do, it just makes it more interesting. So I'll bring that up again later on in this video. Again, that didn't really do very much. All it did was make it seem like the world is alive, which is a really good thing. And now we come up on, you know, gun combat, which is quite a difficult thing to balance as a mapper, because certain people have different playstyles. Some people will hang back, some people may hang far back here while fighting. Other people, usually myself, will just push up. And I've said it before, you're trying to keep the Combine soldiers as far away from the player as you possibly can, so the player can't just run straight up to them, or the Combine can't run straight up to the player. So this is a good example of that. You know, he was never going to run up to me. Manhacks are different. Manhacks are close range enemies. You can grab them with your gravity gun, you can hit them with your crowbar. These guys are to be kept away. They have guns. Also, you can jump on all these boxes and break them, which is a fun little thing to do if you are bored. So, we saw this head crab coming out of this vent here. And if you didn't work it out then, you would probably work it out going to the grenade box. And the other thing is flammable barrel. So all of these things kind of add up to equal one thing. It's a puzzle that's been done. It's not a new puzzle by any stretch of the imagination, but it requires the player to piece the puzzle together. So it's like, as I said, I see the vent, I see the barrels, and if I really do need the hint, there's the grenades. And these grenade boxes are actually fairly helpful in terms of, you know, guiding the player. You know, if you see one of them or you see a rocket... Where did he go? Oh, there he is. Yeah, a rocket crate, then that shows that you definitely need the RPG, and there's probably going to be a gunship on its way. Okay, so that guy should have probably been further away. I mean, I like the fact that they can stand up here while the player's down there. It's a good distance away. And now we make it round to this section here. This is where we were before. We've come round in a full loop. As I said, makes great use of space. And this is where we saw the G-Man, of course. So we can actually go up here. There's actually a room with goodies and stuff in it. Now, if we didn't take the time to search, we wouldn't have found them, we wouldn't have got them, basically. And there's small, minor things that minorly aid you on your journey, but still a good thing. So yeah, here, this is where we see two factions interacting. We've got the Combine fighting the zombies. Obviously, the zombies aren't very good. Oh, I missed that. I was gonna try and catch him. Oh. Okay, so that was kind of more of an arena battle, as I like to call it, but it's not really, because it was very sparse. But that's a good thing. Like, these arena battles where there's just tons of enemies and it's complicated is not fun at all to play. But there was a few enemies, zombies, and combine fighting. And I said this in Precursor, you can decide who you want to take out first. So, for instance, if there's for instance, an antlion guardian fighting like 3 combine soldiers, maybe you want to be taking out trying to take out the guardian first, because the combine soldiers will be also fighting the guardian, which is much harder to take out. This is just an example. It's a stupid example, and one you probably need to go and think about. But yeah, so that's an interesting thing to do there. Now, you saw that the head crab fell through the vent. We've seen this kind of thing before, and if you look down there, you can clearly see the grenade box, again giving us a hint, so we can easily do that. We can see there's a plug wire thing, and it's now down. And if we'd got into this room, we would have also been able to see that we need to take it here. It's not difficult. This is probably one of the least, the one that's not very obvious for people, but at the same time, it's, you've got to find that ladder, which is kind of out the way, but it should be fairly easy to find after a while. So that was a nice little combat section, and then it had like the puzzle at the end, and we are familiar with the whole starting the lift thing. Alright, so straight off the bat we can hear a gunship, a gunship outside, foreshadowing what is going to happen. Incidentally, we could actually see that before, earlier on. I forgot to point it out. But it's just kind of preparing you for the battle, or at least showing you what's going to happen. So here we can hear it. And when we step outside, we'll be able to see it. There it is. So now we've got an outdoors combat section over quite a fairly big battlefield. Now there's a lot of cover for the combine and a bit of combat, a bit of cover for you, the player. And one of the things that certain people do is they'll just spam cover everywhere, when that's not always the best thing or the most funnest thing to do. A lot of the time it's good to give the enemy cover, but not a lot of cover to the player, but other times it's good to switch it around. It's one of these things that you just need to try it, see if it works, and if it doesn't work, then try something else. So I think that was everything along there. Again, placing barnacles is just really for giving, the player something to think about. Again, they're harmless. I can easily walk past them. What do you notice about this combine? Well, it took him a while to turn around. I was hoping he wouldn't turn around, but he did. It took him a good wee while to turn around and notice me, the player. So I could have planned my attack. So I could have thrown a grenade if I had one, which I do. I could have thrown a physics prop. Anything like that would have, I guess, basically made me feel smart because I planned my attack. I don't actually think we can break this. I don't know why I'm trying to do that. But yeah, as I said this in Precursor, and I'll say it again, and no doubt I'll keep saying it for the rest of my life. These situations where you run into a room full of Combine, the best thing to do is to make the Combine not immediately just be like standing there facing you with their guns out. Having them run in like that is fine, like if the context is good, like if the Combine were to know where you are, then that's fine. But if it's like a first encounter with the Combine, you can walk in and they can be at consoles and stuff like that, and it just makes it feel a lot more enjoyable for the player. Okay, so here we can, again, this is one of these areas that makes good use of space. We can kind of immediately see the solution to the puzzle. Like, immediately we can see up there, wire going from there to there. There's a force field there. At the moment, it maybe doesn't make an awful lot of sense, so I'll get back to that, but you can straight up see the solution. So we can, or the, you know, the way that you're going to fix it. So that was a cool thing. You had the barrels that you could shoot and the logs would fall onto the Combine. It's just that these logs are super annoying to jump over. So yeah, when you get to this stage, it then makes a lot more sense because you can see the RPG, the rocket launcher, you can see the wire, and you know to take down the force field, and then you need to go and find out how to do that. So it's like a room, but this door can't open. So this is where you need to start searching. Once again, the Combine are not placed directly in front of you. One's placed up there, like, you know, it can't run up to you, and one's kind of behind these, you know, barricades. So here we see that there's a door that can't open, and by looking in the window we can see that we've got these flammable barrels again. So this is kind of the same puzzle as we had before, and it's a really simple solution. One that I think was done once too many in this mod, but there's other creative ways you can do stuff like that. Right. Also, it keeps like giving you windows so you can look out at what's going on outside and the other side as well. So now we get up to the console, which that was the reason for that. Also, exit here, but there's also goodies to find and a balcony over there. So now we can cross the bridge. And then we're on the final boss battle. Which, there's nothing special about this, except for the fact that some of the surroundings are a bit more dynamic than you'd usually see. So, watch these logs. These logs have the potential to, you know, get knocked over, get knocked down. And that's just done. It was super simple, but it was good that they included the logs that could change. So having dynamic surroundings is really good, something that you should include. But that was Year Long Alarm. So there's a lot you can take away from that mod. Like the good use of space, the way it paces the map. So if a lot of the barricades and blockages weren't there, it'd be very short, but it manages to pace it. Also does well with including the zombies fighting the combine at the end of the first map. There's a lot you can take away from that. And these are the kinds of maps you should be going on to runthinkshootlive.com and playing, and trying to not copy, certainly don't like copy them, but trying to imitate certain things that they do, but create your own environment, but draw inspiration from these, and your mapping should go up and your level design should improve a lot. So, thank you for watching.